Alright, so hopefully somewhat of a smooth transition right there, as I've started to use music. It's amazing. Good stuff. Sorry, Twitch sent me a thing today about how they actually have some legitimate music that you might be able to use without getting completely screwed over. And then I was like, hey, let's give that a shot. And I don't have the most advanced setup, which means that doing it appropriately is not all that easy, and I'm pressing like 4 things at the same time. But it's fine! Yay! It's fine. Gonna be SolCast here, as this is a Cycle 6 game, so Don't Care taking on Solaire Club in the Losers Bracket Round 4. Two good teams, and they both made it pretty darn far as Gold Cycle goes. And both should be reasonably able to compete for a spot in Diamond Division as the cycle moves forward. One of these teams will be moving to the Losers Bracket semifinals. The other one will be knocked out of Cycle 6 and unable to go to Gold for to Diamond for Cycle 7. Neither of them, I think, really favorites to do so, but Solaire Club has improved substantially in the last couple of cycles, and I'm excited to see what they can bring here. Don't Care continuously reworking their lineup, and they've got a couple of new players. I believe this cycle Contact High is new, and I think Zudonix was in their last cycle. Solo Volcom might be new. But nonetheless, obviously, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. That's just gone. Alright. Regardless, well underway with the draft phase right here, so let's just talk about that. Ophelia, Parasite, the first two bans from Gistman, Dr. Pulsar, and Tempest get taken out by Link, as they want to address Cannondorf a little bit, as well as Noob McNoob. Actually, that's primarily focused at Noob McNoob, because he plays both of those heroes, and he does so quite well in the jungle. So they want to ban out some potential jungle options. That's going to lead to a first pick Cthulhuphant for the Legion side, as both he and Swiftblade are left available. This is pre-patch, so before the 3.6 balance, which means Cthulhuphant is still quite broken, and Swiftblade's still very powerful. He's quite powerful now as well, but even more so back then, and i.e. when this game was played. So we'll see if that's actually going to be a Suicide Elephant or if it's going to be a Jungle Elephant. There are no reasonable jungle heroes left in terms of the three that are typically picked up, or Noob McNoob's Jungle Doctor. That could potentially hurt the Hellborn team as well. Contact High is their jungler, and wouldn't be surprising to see them look for a non-traditional jungler or a dual support lineup, considering there really aren't too many of those available. And that's going to lead into a Cthulhuphant, Magmus, and Silhouette pickup for the Legion side. Hellborn going to counter with Swiftblade, Kraken, and Prisoner 945. So both teams going for an Agi carry on the backs of a couple of good strength initiators. And I'm liking both lineups so far, to be honest. Good line stuns on this Legion side, followed by some pretty substantial carry potential for the Silhouette, and Cannondorf, quite a good Silhouette player. Hellborn with the Kraken and Prisoner initiation. That's going to be very powerful, and a lot of physical damage based on the Hellborn team as well. Swiftblade potentially in the hands of Zephranthe, who is often their suicide player, I believe. I don't remember. I think Solo's their mid, right? So I can't remember what DoCa is, but Link is definitely their carry player. I do remember that. At least most of the time he's their carry player. Sometimes they'll play an initiator. Reminiscent of what Sync will do, actually, with Lensmeister. So it could either be short lane Swiftblade or a Suicide Swiftblade. Either way, it's going to be opposed by Glacius and backed up by an Empath, so not a huge fan of the Glacius pick actually here, because he has some pretty serious issues when dealing with Swiftblade, who can just spin right out of his freeze. So would have really preferred the Empath actually on the Legion side, and they had the opportunity to pick it, obviously. That would help them shut down the Swiftblade in lane, especially if they're laned against each other, which is pretty unlikely but definitely possible. And Empath combos well with Silhouette as well, so would have been a solid pick there. And the Glacius, I'm actually really not sure about, because you got a couple of solid tanks in Kraken and Prisoner and a Magic Immune hero in Swiftblade, so how much is that hero really going to be able to do? And for that matter, you're lacking a lot of really good stuns. Cthulhuphant, once he gets his portal key, should be having no problems. But Silhouette, even with PK, can occasionally have issues landing that tree grapple. Magmus, obviously, is okay for most of the time, and Bubbles also going to lack some stuns there, so not too many of them on the Legion side. They're going to go with Clanks, Revenant, and Torturer for their bans. Legionnaire, Rhapsody, and Martyr taken out by Link 06, so addressing the jungle possibility a little bit with the Legionnaire, but in fact it's going to be a jungle Elephant, so that's going to be in Noob McNoob's hands. Legion focusing a little bit more on the carry potential of Clanks, as well as the support options of Revenant and Torturer. And the Martyr ban, quite interesting. This is obviously, again, pre-patch, so he had not received his changes at this point, and therefore, I don't know how valuable he was back then. My guess is probably could have been picked up more than the Never he was, but nonetheless, not a particularly popular hero, and certainly one can see why. He's a bit of interesting. Does he fit the suicide role? Is he need a support? Can he carry? Like, what's he really do? I think he would have come out as a solid suicide or support hero, but neither of those really caught on, and therefore we didn't see him. But Hellborn gonna finish off their draft with Pyromancer here, and they're going for the straight dual support lineup. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see a tri-lane from the Hellborn team. We had a Silhouette on the Legion side, as well as a jungler, which means that an aggressive tri-lane to shut down Cannondorf early on can do a lot of work. And Silhouette is a hero that is very easy to punish in lane, and one that you want to shut down early. Meanwhile, Swiftblade is a pretty fantastic tri-lane hero, and for that matter, so is Prisoner, especially when they're backed up by a decent stun. The Wall and Dragonfire cast time basically mean that we don't have two particularly good tri-lane supports. Either of those, I think, are fine as a second tri-lane support, but there's no really good initiation potential on a tri-lane for this Hellborn team, so we'll see if they choose to do that, or if they decide to go for double dual lanes and then solo the Kraken. I would imagine Kraken will not be dual laned, but I suppose it's possible. Kind of hope it doesn't happen. Either way, lineup's shaping up pretty well for both sides, to be honest. I'm not too upset about any of their picks. The last pick on the bubbles is just fine. I'm not going to do too much once again against the Magic community of Swiftblade, but with the dual support lineup, has plenty of opportunities to get pickoffs and set up ganks and kills, including on a couple of heroes that may or may not be as mobile, especially the Prisoner, depending on the portal key. So, lots of teamfight potential as well for the Legion side, of course. Hellborn have a fair bit of it on their own, and both sides with quite good gank-oriented lineups and strong lanes on either side. So, two solid teams, and some pretty decent synergy there as well. Magmus and Bubbles obviously have some pretty solid, cohesiveness. Bubbles setting people up with the kill field, into the Magmus eruption, a lot of damage. That's good. Prisoner pulling people into the Kraken ultimate, also good. Glacius ulti on top of Bubbles, also good. Magmus and Cthulhu, both line stuns, potential for a lot of people to be locked down. Swiftblade and Empath, obviously, really, really good. Empath gonna get the wall out here on Glacius, but doesn't quite block him off, so had a good idea. Had the right idea, but unable to execute appropriately. Meanwhile, Cthulhu could be in a bit of a trouble in this Legion Woods as he's getting his hard camp locked out here, so in fact he might look like rotate to the top, and it seems like he's going to be going the aggressive jungle right here, so I like that decision. And the Legion side are going to make a very good move here and send Cannondorf to the middle lane. So the aggressive tri-lane here, which is exactly what's going to happen, and certainly quite predictable from the Hellborn team, is only going to be opposed by a solo Bubbles, and they're going to have to rotate this more or less immediately. They're also using 3 wards to block out camps here, assuming that Cthulhu's going to be jungling in the safe lane, and Prisoner just saw him at the top, so Hellborn have to kind of be going, well, crap. That's not exactly what we wanted to do. And Pyromancer will find Bubbles down here as Swiftblade pulls the lane back. So we get a dual lane middle with Silhouette and Glacius up against a Kraken, and they should have just a fine time. Justman in the bottom lane is going to suffer, because he's going to be up against a Swiftblade, and even with the support rotation, actually Bubbles, not a great hero to face Swiftblade, as Swifty has the magic immunity and can get on top of Bubbles with the spin, force him to shell surf away and play it defensively. So even in a 1v1, in fact, I wouldn't necessarily assume that Bubbles is going to win this just because he's short lane. In fact, I would expect Swifty to win it, and right off the bat, Link doing pretty well. Getting CS right there, as Bubbles is basically unable to do anything. And so the rotations are going to be there for the Hellborn team. Empath going to head middle with Kraken to oppose this Silhouette and Glacius lane. And it looks like Pyromancer will be getting to the top lane to go up against the Magmus, who is playing the Suicide role. So Army of Mums going to be playing the Suicide Magmus here, and he's not playing Kraken. It's a miracle. Anyway, so yeah, once again, you see the Swiftblade spin, and Bubbles lets the shell surf away. And that's exactly what you would expect to happen in this lane, and that's exactly what is happening, so no huge surprise there. So I expect Justman to suffer pretty hard, and I don't think Link will get that much. If he can aim for 250 to 300 GPM, I think he'll be doing just fine. Keep Bubbles at around the 200 to 200 mark, then 200 to 250 mark. That's probably what we're looking for in terms of farm on both of these sides. So my suspicion is neither of them will do particularly well, but Swiftblade will come out a little bit ahead. Middle lane with a backup from Empath, Kraken can be a little bit more aggressive, and especially because this is not a particularly good kill lane for the Legion team. We're going to actually have Cthulhu coming in, so speaking of not a good kill lane, they may be just completely ridiculous, because, oh god, Silhouette is going to die. They do get the Bloodlust on contact high playing the Empath, but not going to be enough to save the Swiftblades, or the Silhouette. So Legion side do get the Bloodlust, but it's actually not all that valuable because they lose the Silhouette, and that means that she's going to have to rotate once again. We'll see what they choose to do here. They're going to bring her back to the mid, and to be honest, I would have preferred to see a rotation to the bottom lane. Swiftblade can beat, or sorry, Silhouette can beat Swiftblade one-on-one because she can harass him substantially, and he can't really spin on her thanks to the crew grapple. So I would have much preferred to send her to bottom, and maybe even rotate Glacius top and send a dual lane up against this prisoner, try to shut him down a little bit. Kraken gonna miss the charge onto Glacius, and now he's gonna be in a little bit of trouble, but Cthulhu also missed his charge. Pyromancer will hit the stun onto the Sil, and the Invis rune will be bottled up by Kraken right here. He'll be just fine as Cthulhu can you just spawn in some auto attacks, but not gonna do all that much. Anyway, so I'd really like to see this Glacius move top, like I said, because, I mean, yeah, okay, Silhouette's going to jump down the middle lane once again, and she's going to die! No! The auto attack's traveling? It's not going to kill her anyway. Oh, that's painful. They really should have been able to get a kill on Cannondorf right there, but you can see, you know, she has the potential to die right here. Sure, there was an Invis rune set up right there, but if it's a haste, similar stuff can happen, potentially even a double damage. If Kraken can find the right angle for the charge, it could be a problem, and I mean, I think Silhouette can win this bottom lane if they're not going to tri-lane her. And if they are, force them to rotate once again. So, good take cover right there. We'll stop the Essence Link. And the wall unsuccessful, and Swiftblade was trying to drop a spin. Bubble Shell Surf was on cooldown, but Jisman, no surprise, 200 or so GPM. I'm expecting Link to do a little bit better in this lane, and maybe he will once Empath's presence is felt more. Gonna spin on Bubbles right here, but this might not be the greatest thing in the world for him. Yeah, they're trading some pretty serious amounts of damage, and Bubbles is actually mostly okay with that. Can get some CS out of it. Not bad. Pyromancer controlling the top rune. And I assume that was bottled by somebody. Kraken? Oh, yeah, Pyromancer has his bottle, so just a refresh. Bottom lane was taken by Glacius, who has... Nope. Was not taken by Glacius. Going to be Kraken charge once again onto Silhouette, and they continuously force her to be passive. So we have a 200 GPM Silhouette in this middle lane right here, and no real potential to get any kills. So she's basically going to have to keep CSing, and it's going to be difficult against this dual lane, especially with Kraken and Pyromancer. She's continuously getting aggressed on, and that's not going to stop anytime soon. Bottom lane contact high will fall, so it's just a matter of Bubbles says, "I got some burst damage there, buddy, and you're level 2, so you know." Careful. Silhouette getting to hit the Death Lotus here. That might not have been the best thing. They will get the kill onto Kraken. And Pyromancer actually in some trouble as well. It's going to be a double tap if they can get the hit. Yes, Silhouette's dead. So, nice dive attempt. I like the aggression. Pyromancer getting out with about 10 health, but Cannondorf taking the death and ultimately an unnecessary one. So, little too much aggression there from the Silhouette. And, oh well. So, looking at the GPM overall, neither side farming particularly well. We're approaching the 6-minute mark, and the top farmer in the game is a 315 GPM Prisoner in the top lane, who has completely destroyed this Magnus, which is, again, no surprise. Magnus versus Prisoner tends to go heavily in favor of the Prisoner, as Shackle stops both the Lava Surge and the Steam Bath. Okay, so it doesn't technically stop the Steam Bath, but it gives you vision, so the Steam Bath is more or less useless, especially because in the early levels he has almost no damage coming out from it, and he doesn't even take a point in it yet. So Magma's trying to harass out this Prisoner a little bit with his Volcanic Touch, but that's not proving particularly successful. As Prisoner's having quite a fine time, and Army of Mums on this Magnus is having some difficulties, so I honestly would have expected a little bit more from Magnus in this lane. Yeah, Prisoner tends to shut him down pretty hard, but not this hard, and it's not like Zafrante's been getting kills on him or anything like that. I feel like Magnus maybe just playing this a little bit too passively. He doesn't have any vision, so he's probably worried about the support rotation potential, and that could easily result in him dying. And there goes a Shackle as well as the Prisoner ultimate, but it's not going to be a kill. He does hit the hook, so never mind. It is going to be a hill. I did not realize how much damage that was going to do, because Magnus currently has 758 health, and he basically went from full to nothing with the prisoner combo. So, yeah, good play there from Zafrante. And it's going to give the guys on Don't Care a decent lead in this game. Or at least help them with their decent lead. As they're up just under 1,000 gold and about 500 experience. Not substantial by any means, but it's something. And now Prisoner with a 2-level advantage, going to be able to put a pretty serious hurt in onto this Magnus. He also has gone the bottle route, so it's a little bit difficult considering he's basically just sitting here and continuing to CS, and there's not a really great way for him to control the runes. So I'm not a really big fan of that. I feel like it's about 600 wasted gold, because sitting with that empty bottle, like, what's that doing for him? Absolutely nothing. It'll be nice as the game goes on. But anyway, middle lane, Kraken gonna get frozen. Nice stun from Pyromancer though, and they're actually gonna turn it on to her as they realize pretty quickly don't want to kill the Kraken. Release the Kraken though is gonna go on to Cthulhu, and that's gonna be 1-for-1. Switchblade Swift Slashes are there as Link ports in. Silhouette now gonna have to try to get out of here. No Tree Grapple for a couple of seconds. We'll pop the illusion. Here comes Bubbles for the counter. There goes Solaire on the Kraken. Switchblade does take the stun and falls as well. Hand it over for the double tap right there and avoids the hook. So the counters attempted from the Hellborn team, unsuccessful. They lose the Cthulhu on the Legion side, but 3 heroes die for the guys on Don't Care and Solaire Club. Very nice engagement. Gonna get themselves right back into this one. And in particular, shutting this prisoner down is going to be relatively important because he's not too much of a snowball hero, but slowing his portal key is going to be quite a big deal. Between him and Kraken, they have decent initiation, but Kraken's doing fine, not all that well, 255 GPM, so it's not like he's going to have a particularly early PK. And then if you can stop the prisoner, you can basically prevent the Hellborn team from being able to start fights at all. So those 2 heroes now in particular be great if they didn't get any farm at least as far as the Solaire Club is concerned at least. Anyway, Kendorf has rotated to the bottom lane, so I like that move, as I said before. And he's perhaps going to get jumped on as a result of it, so play kind of hanging out in the woods over here. Empath also there. Tree Grapple is available. And there goes the Essence Link. There's the spin, and she's going to have to play this angle correctly here. They might try to get the counter kill on the Empath, but no, they won't. Meanwhile, top lane, Zafrante dies. Let's go back and watch that. Eruption right on his face. Hook completely whiffs, and the Cthulhu Obliterate is what picks off that kill. So Noob McNoob, 2-1-1, 285 GPM. Not bad farm at all for Cthulhu. And Jungle Cthulhu, I don't know, I feel like he maybe should be farming a little faster, especially with the 2 kills, but either way, it's fine. Definitely not doing poorly. Army will pick up the Steam Boots right there, and he's at 210 gold per minute, so decent enough game as the Suicide on the Legion side. I wouldn't mind the Legion team giving him some space, especially in the middle lane, and in fact he's going to port there to get closer to his portal key. Bubble's going for the Grave Locket on top of the regular boots, and presumably he will be picking up Steam Boots at some point. And 280 GPM, so he should be able to grab his PK relatively quickly. And this is obviously a very portal key dependent team on the Legion side. My expectation is 4. Bubbles, Silhouette, Cthulhu, and Magnus should all eventually get a portal key. So we'll see if that actually happens. Anyway, speaking of Cthulhu, looking to perhaps set something up on this Kraken in the middle lane. As I said before, they want to stop these initiators from the Hellborn team because if they can shut those heroes down, they can do a lot to secure this game. Especially since the Legion side don't necessarily need PKs to initiate, and they have the potential to do so with 3 heroes anyway. Silhouette and Glacius are really the only ones that can't. So it's going to be much harder for the Hellborn team to stop the Legion's initiation potential. As Silhouette pops the illusion, perhaps looking for a jump onto this Empath, but not going to find it. And pretty much everybody in a retreat once again. Go farm. By the way, still going the Ghost Marchers build, and has picked up the what do you call it? Duck Boots there. So looking perhaps for the Energizer right here. Clay's just looking for freeze, but Swiftblade can just spin out of it, so not really all that much to do. Top lane, they do get the hook right there. Sorry, not a great camera angle. And they will pull the Magnus back in. There's a stun on top of it. Army of Mums gonna die. Bubbles with a 2-man kelp field. And Cthulhu gonna need to stop this. Actually, they get 1 kill, and they will stop the other TP. So Zudonic's gonna fall, and my expectation is Defrante will die as well. Yep, there he goes. So it's being a 2-for-1. Army of Mums taking a death right there. And oh well. Good dive, and nice idea from the Hellborn team, but the Legion response a little bit too powerful, and having Cthulhu kind of nearby, sort of coincidentally, but definitely the right thing. And ends up paying off very well. So we'll spot out the rotation from Swiftblade. They're going to really go for this Empath, and they will get it. Army of Mums is going to, or sorry, Container is going to split up right there and go to his Illusion, as he's trying to avoid the Swiftblade aggression. Will be able to do so, so nice play on the Silhouette right there. Realizing he can just run one of them away, and Swiftblade can't possibly kill him, because can't keep spinning on both at the same time. So, free pick on Empath, not bad. Only level 4, so Contact High having some pretty serious issues in this game. 82 GPM, 0-3 and 1, not having a particularly impressive impact. As the Hellborn didn't seem like they really were sure about what their lanes wanted to be. They obviously had the Swiftblade tri-lane, and then they were like, alright, we'll soul the Swiftblade to an Empath middle, and then they sent Pyromancer middle and Empath top, and then they sent Empath back to the bottom lane. So a lot of rotations, and both of these supports suffered for it. You can see in terms of the XPM charts, 147 for Pyromancer, managed to stick in the middle lane a little while longer, but it's just 96 for this Empath, so that's going to be a problem as well, because Silhouette will easily get to the point where she can just jump in and kill supports like that immediately. Especially Empath has a lot of difficulty surviving because she has no stun. At least Pyromancer's got a stun. Usually that's going to result in her death anyway, but or his death or whatever. But at least maybe he can get out or lock Silhouette down long enough for his team to support him. What typically happens with Empath is jump, dead Empath, Silhouette gone. And the levels are not helping right here. At least he's got boots. At least he's got boots. Top lane, Veiled Rot being used by Bubbles as they're baiting this elephant. And Bubbles going to be able to work his way into the side chop right here. There is no Word of Sight, so they're not exactly being hugely sneaky right here. And the Hellborn pretty much have no interest in going up onto this Cthulhu. He's got an Astrolabe, and yeah, I can understand why. Cthulhu, just one of the hardest heroes in the game to kill, especially in this version. So my guess is, even with the Pyromancer and Prisoner using their full complement of abilities, they maybe can kill him. He's got, 1,200, 1,300 health on, not on int treads, yeah, on strength treads. She's got like 1,450 or something is my guess, yeah, 1,480, nearly 1,500 health. So I mean, honestly, if they could use both their ultimates, their entire combination of spells, and perhaps even then they wouldn't kill him. Between Dream of Madness and the Trample and the Astrolabe, it's entirely realistic. Actually, they're going to try to go for Pyro? No, just charging forward, it's fine. But this short lane tower is taking a lot of damage. It's not going to be quite into eye range yet, but definitely getting there. Anyway, so we're 15 minutes in or so, looking at items across the board. Bubbles is about halfway to his portal key, so is Magnus. Cthulhu, similar story, assuming that is his next item. Silhouette did pick up the recipe for a Nullstone, and she's about 1,000 gold away from that, and that's going to help her in farm, of course, as well as fight a little bit. Glacius sitting on an Ion Stone, in fact, as well as boots, and I like the Ion Stone pickup a lot. That's an item that I think is vastly underrated for the amount of money it costs, and especially with the new ward slot. You can basically get one. The issue with it before was often I don't have space because I'm a support, but now that there's an extra space for wards, it's much easier to deal with. So I'd like to see more teams and heroes picking that, and players picking that up, because I think it has a lot of utility. It could be well served to continuously apply those rune buffs, even at lower effectiveness levels to heroes.
The Legion have overrun.
And top tower will go down. Cthulhu here going to get jumped a little bit, but yeah, once again, just too tanky. He's going in, going to miss the trample. Kelpfield hits onto 2, Obliterate goes through, Prisoner's going to pour it out, and he is going to survive, but Sudonix takes the death, as Pyromancer has no way to get out of that. He had a TP, but apparently chose not to use it. He's probably too squishy for it to really make a difference anyway. If he just stood there on portal, he would have died. So, well, they lose a tower, they lose a hero. Not really what you want to be doing, and it seems like Don't Care are a little bit scattered right now. They don't really have a plan in terms of what to do. Nobody's farming particularly well. They're playing extremely passively. And in the meantime, Solaire Club is building a pretty big lead, actually. So we're just under 9,000 gold and just over 9,000 experience in favor of the Legion team. And that's not a small amount, especially at this time. Swiftblade and Prisoner going to try to lock down this Elephant. He's got an Astrolabe available, but doesn't actually use it, so it's a little bit interesting. Bubble's going to be able to get out of there with the Shell Surf, as he should be able to survive. Swiftblade trying to chase him down, but there's a creep wave there. Bottom lane, meanwhile, Stand March on the Glacius is going to die, and here's Empath on top of Kennendorf, but that's not really where he wants to be, and Kennendorf's just like, alright, free kill, and then I'm going to leave and pick up an Invis rune, because why not? And in fact, is going back. Might be looking for some more aggression. Magnus in the mid lane pushing things in pretty well. He's at 280 GPM, so I said earlier I would like to see the Legion team focus this Magnus a little bit, get him some easy farm, and they've done exactly that. He's got a portal key at 18 minutes, which is quite good for a Suicide Magnus. And it's going to be delivered to him right here, and they may look to use that to set up a kill in this middle lane, especially on the Prisoner, who they've continued to address. So Solaire Club doing pretty much all of the things that I would have liked them to do, as they focus the Magnus to get him a PK. They shut down the Prisoner, stop his farm. In fact, it's the Kraken who they're going to jump on top of, and he's actually going to charge Silhouette with him, so that's not really what he wanted to do, but he's going to get away thanks to a nice release, the Kraken placement. Prisoner going to put the Shackle down on top of Magnus, as here comes the Cthulhu with the trample forward. It's not going to save Army of Mums. That's going to be the only death so far. Swiftblade looking for a spin on the Silhouette, trying to get away. Dream of Madness is activated, and that's going to apply to Pyromancer, who's just trying to run away. All of a sudden, Kennendorf easy kill onto Zudonix as the Death Lotus finishes him off, and the rest of the Hellborn team gets on out of there, no problem. By the way, both Kraken and Prisoner did pick up a portal key, so some initiation problems solved for the Hellborn team. Nonetheless, it is a pretty good Solaire Club lead, and Kennendorf on the Silhouette is starting to take off. He will get charged into the trees, but the rest of the team is there for backup, and in fact, it's going to be the turn pretty easily. Kelpfield Sun is taken by Kraken. Not a great play right there, but just trying to get away, so I understand that. Swiftblade's spinning right now. Cthulhu's waiting for that to stop so he can trample in his face, but Swiftblade a little bit too fast and avoids the angle that Noob McNoob is trying to set up. Freeze and ulti right there as Pyromancer just gets melted. So Pyromancer dies, resurrects, comes back into the fight, and then dies immediately. So Zudonix having a fun time right now, I'm sure. And the Legion side will be able to take out a tier 2 tower right here. They're also going to port away, and that should be the end of that. So Silhouette finishing off her Nullstone as well as her portal key. Nearing 500 GPM right now. The Cthulhu at 400 gold per minute. He's becoming a pretty tanky mess. He's picked up a Helm on top of the Astrolabe. So I like a lot of stuff. I'm not sure if I would have gone for the Helm right here. I feel like PK is much more necessary. He was already pretty damn tanky. He's going to try to port away right here, and Swiftblade's not going to ulti him because he doesn't have it, because it's on cooldown. So Noob McNoob just like, bye. Anyway, I like the aggression. The fact that they got the Astrolabe on Cthulhu, and they were like, and they're more or less immediately like, yeah, let's push, because that's what you do in the Astrolabe. Grouped up, they took a tower, they took a couple of towers, like a team fight, and they're trying to make as much use of that item as they possibly can. They're getting a lot out of it. Similar thing goes with the Magnus portal key. You buy it, you don't just sit on it. Make some action happen. Do something with it. So similar thing with the Silhouette PK, is actually the Ward of Sight will spot them out, but it's not going to be enough. They're trying to jump on this Kraken, and they will keep him stunned down, but actually Silhouette could be in some trouble right here. There is no illusion out, and it's Kennendorf that's going to be taking the death. So that was a bit of a mistake, maybe. Magnus will get hooked back in, and the Shackle's there as well. Blazing Strike going to help finish him off, an Army of Mums. So those two heroes attempting to set up a gank in the middle lane, both of them die. And this is going to be some aggression in the mid tower as a result. Cthulhu trying to keep them backed off, perhaps. Trample does connect onto 2. Bubbles is going to jump in with his brand new portal key. Stun from Pyromancer is going to prevent Cthulhu from chasing, and that will result in nothing really happening to this mid tier 1. So good defense. Meanwhile, top lane, Swiftblade is pushing this in. Is perhaps the tower definitely going to die? The question is who's going to get the kill, and will it be a deny? And it seems like it won't be a deny, and perhaps Cthulhu could be in some trouble right here, but yeah, look, he's kind of tanky. He's also got that Froster plate mail anyway, and it's going to be Swiftblade that could be in some trouble. He's going to get the Swift Slashes out that will stop the Magnus ultimate. Magnus now trying to get away. He's out of mana. Dream of Madness goes through onto the Kraken. But he probably will be able to get away right here as he just leaves. Kraken quite tanky. Actually, there's a two-man hook, and Magnus is going to be in some trouble. No, he's not going to die. It's Swiftblade that falls, as well as Solovoka. Finally, Magnus going to die, but it means Prisoner and Pyromancer are also going to get caught. So it ends up being a four-man wipe in favor of the Legion team as they lose just that Magnus. And Solaire Club taking yet another good engagement. Glacius unable to deny the bottom tower. Kind of surprising, but there were two cannons, I guess. And SolC doing real well. So 10.5k gold, 13k experience at this point. I like most of their item progression. Like I said, I would prefer the PK on Cthulhuphant. Because, you know, more PKs you have, the better each one is. And a 4 PK team like this would have resulted in a lot of really easy picks. Heavily mobile team. And Cthulhuphant would continue to be very difficult to kill because he's still got a ridiculous amount of health and Dream and Trample and etc. So, not sure the Helm was entirely necessary, but it's neither here nor there, I guess. Swiftblade looking for the Geometer's Bane or Dawnbringer, I guess, is the choice. And you're going to stun out the Cthulhu, or the Cannondorf Illusion, and that'll be it. They lose the tier 2 in the top lane as it gets denied, so the Legion team keeping up the aggression, taking towers down all over the place, and we're potentially looking at 0 outer towers by 25 minutes if they choose to get aggressive in this bottom lane. And as usual, Silhouette zipping around the map, finding stuff everywhere. Bottom lane, looks like they will in fact try to take out that last outer tower as both Army of Bums and Cannondorf have grouped up with Stand March to put in some damage to a tower. It's already pretty low. Pyromancer is going to get the jump onto Glacius, but not the kill, and that's going to result in him dying. We see a TP coming in. Not going to be cancelled, actually. Swiftblade looking for a further initiation. He does have Swift Slashes, but they're realizing pretty quickly they don't want that. Release the Kraken right onto Bubble's face, and he's going to die as Franti actually picking up the kill with the hook. Cannondorf, a bit of a sticky situation right there, but we'll actually get out, it seems like, because then a haste rune eruption in the background onto a couple. Swift Slash, they're going to stop the damage as there goes both Glacius and the Magmas. Cannondorf also going to die. For some reason, did not use his illusion prior to going back in there, and as a result, didn't get any utility out of it, because if he had popped his illusion before, he could have just poured it out and been just fine, but that's a bit of a misplay right there, and it ends up with 4 heroes dying for the Legion team, so that 4-for-1 trade that the Legion got before, they literally just gave it entirely back. And definitely questionable play. But, ah well. Hellborn going to perhaps look to make some utility out of this, pushing the middle tower, as they really do need to start taking some towers. They took the bot tier 1, which was good. It's going to open up the Legion Woods a little bit more, but they really need to take this mid tier 1 as well. That's going to allow them to roam really effectively, and it looks like they're going to prioritize that here with 3 heroes taking it.
The Hellborn have overrun
So they can't just let Silhouette and Cthulhuphant continue to have this jungle because they don't have theirs. I mean, the Hellborn jungle is completely exposed at this point with no towers or nearby. And the Legion have nowhere near the same problem. Anyway, Kraken and Cthulhuphant are going to find each other, but neither of them successfully lands a spell. So they're just going to back out. Arcana picked up there for the Elephant, and that's going to be a Frostfield plate. No huge surprise, because the plate mail builds into one thing now, right? Yep. Obviously it used to be a part of Demonic Breastplate, but now it's literally just the plate mail into... Plate mail means exactly one item, and that's a Frostfield plate. So, alright. I feel like they should rework Bulwark into plate mail plus ring mail. I mean, it'd be the same price, and it would give plate mail some use, because right now it's a plus 10 armor item that literally builds into one thing. I don't think there's any other item in the game that literally builds into one thing. Anyway, the lane. Oh, Cthulhuphant gonna run away. They get the shackle after that. Also, not gonna dodge the hook. Actually, does get hooked. And there's the ultimates going off all over the place. They're gonna try to finish up this Elephant. They will do so. He never got his Astrolabe off, which was kind of surprising. And The counter for the for the Legion team is there as Zudonix gets picked off on the Pyromancer silhouette, continuing to look for some aggression. Has a Haste Rune active, and the Hellborn team sort of chasing her around a hell of a lot. And she will be able to get out of there, no problem. Pops the portal key, just like, whatever, I'm leaving. Nice true grapple away. And they could look to counter this, actually. Kraken, obviously, no charge, no PK. Hook does not hit, as Silhouette has tree grapples and portal keys all over the place, but now she's in the middle of 5 heroes. And she's going to need to get out of this. The Shackle is there, though, and she's going to die. I forget if that stops the illusion. The swap. I think it does? I don't remember. It must. Anyway, Dawnbreaker going to be finished up here by Swiftblade. As we're looking at a Shrunken Head potential on Kraken. That's going to be finished right there on top of Prisoners. So, lots of magic community on the Hellborn side. You look at the Legion team. Magmus, Bubbles, Glacius, even Cthulhuphant. You guys ain't going to do too much against a bunch of Shrunken Heads. Just saying. There's going to be a lot on this Silhouette. And actually, Solaire Club is sort of fallen down on the job a bit here. They're still in the lead, but they're much less in the lead than they were a little while ago. The hero kills are going a lot more in favor of Don't Care. Link is getting back into this game with 510 GPM, which is actually approaching the Silhouette's farm. She was nearing 500 gold per minute before and is now not particularly close to that mark. Noob falling off a little bit as well, and Army of Bums have just been more or less maintaining their position. In general, though, things looking substantially better for Don't Care than they did about 5 or 10 minutes ago. And they may, in fact, be back in this. We may have a game after all, folks. Frostfield Plate is finished up on Elephant. Presumably that'll be flying out relatively quickly. Prisoner and Kraken have almost exactly the same build. Teleport, Bottle, Steam Boots, Portal Key, Shrunken Head. The difference is a Hatchet and this thing and a Power Supply. And both supports with Striders, Pushbook on Empath, and Grave Locket on Pyromancer. That's perfectly understandable, as Pyromancer can't jump inside of other heroes, and therefore prevent himself from taking damage. Invis Kraken going to scout out 3 heroes on the Legion side, as they're looking to set something up by baiting this Cthulhuphant, but in fact it's the Hellborn that will set up right here. Invis Kraken right on Bubbles, gets destroyed. Shrunken Heads getting popped all over the place. Blazing Strike onto Army of Moms. Cthulhuphant trying to do something as the Pyromancer's just like, I'm gone. Magmus gets finished off by the hook. Cthulhuphant with 3 heroes on top of him is a lot less likely to survive, so that's going to be 3 kills in favor of Don't Care. And all of a sudden, that 13k gold lead that Solaire Club had is gone. Completely 100% gone. They're going to look to do Congo right here, get a Token of Life up on the Swift Blade. And that's going to not only eliminate the gold lead, it's going to give the Hellborn team a gold advantage, or close to it. So, Don't Care coming back in a big way. Gotta be impressed with the way they've played this. They've managed to find pickoffs in the right places in Solaire Club. Not really taking the fights that they need to, and I think a lot of this does come down to the Cthulhuphant's itemization. He just doesn't have the capacity to follow up on the Legion side's initiation, and he can't jump into fights as the first hero either, because he doesn't have a PK, so sure, Magmus can do it, but it's a lot easier if he has the Cthulhuphant to start the fight, because then he can put the Eruption on top of all the heroes that have been grouped up, as opposed to trying to get like a blind or Eruption or something like that, especially when you're playing aggressively. That's very difficult. So I feel like, I mean, this is definitely not New McNoob's fault that they've started to lose this lead. I mean, Canadorf's made some mistakes. He's gotten caught out. Army of Mom's been caught out a couple of times. They've had some failed ganks. Bubbles has died a lot in these fights. So I don't necessarily, I mean, just when it's 6-0 and 6, now he's 6-2 and 6, so he's died a couple of times in succession. I don't want to blame Cthulhuphant, but I do think his itemization is a little bit weird right here. By the way, Silhouette picking up a shield breaker right there, so that will be her orb, and or her attack modifier, whatever you want to call it. And That's fine, I guess.
The Legion
It
has
doesn't really
overrun
need a
a
Shrunken, I
Hellborn FOB.
suppose. They have a lot of superior magic on the Legion, on the Hellborn side, so it's not like it would do all that much for her. And there's some pretty serious tankiness on the Kraken and Prisoner, especially with the Shrunken heads being popped up. They need more physical damage presence because otherwise they're going to do nothing in these team fights. But Link continuing to improve his farm on that Switchblade. He's at 450 GPM right now and has actually overtaken Silhouette as the top farmer in the game. Well, at least they're jockeying for it right now. He had done so a second ago and wouldn't be surprised if a couple CS land him back in that #1 spot. Army Bumps never really able to cross that 250 GPM. He's been hovering around it for a little while, but can't quite find the opening to be able to get it. That's fine, he doesn't need all that much farm, to be honest. He has 2,500 saved up and presumably is going for a Sheepstick to pair nicely with that portal key, as they probably could use a little bit more lockdown. They have some nice stuns, but a lot of magic immunity now on the Hellborn team means that portal key Sheepstick initiation could be doing a lot. Swiftblade going for the Assassin's Shroud right there, and I'm not a fan, to be honest. He's got a Dawnbringer, which is fine. But at this point, I would really like a Wingbow because it's going to prevent him from taking a lot of very painful right clicks from the Silhouette, especially with the Shield Breaker. She's going to have some difficulty hitting him and therefore doing damage with that item. So Assassin's Shroud is nice for the additional mobility. He can go in and out of fights and stuff like that, and perhaps set up ganks like the one he's trying to do in the middle lane. But they think that's the real Silhouette, that it just ported in, but in fact it just ported out. So it's always hard to tell, but still. Anyway. I'm not a fan, Link. Not a fan. He's got a Token of Life too, and he needs to make use of that pretty soon before it wears off. We got just under 2 minutes left, so I'd like to see them try to take a tower somewhere with this token before they lose it and don't get anything out of it. We have 2,400 gold saved up on the Prisoner, and I'm not sure what his next item is, but it wouldn't surprise me to see a Sheepstick or something like that, or a Hellflower or something on him as well, trying to lock down the Silhouette, the Bubbles, the Kraken, the Cthulhu, or sorry, not the Kraken, the Magmas and the Cthulhu. As Hellflower is a good item against all of those heroes, and looks like Hellborn will be taking my advice right here. Group up as 5, running down the middle lane and trying to do something. Assassin's Shroud and Swiftblade obviously can be spotted right there as he walks under a tower, but he'll kill the creep wave, and they're going to start going for this tower kill right here. They're doing some split pushing in the top lane, as the Hellborn have to respond to this a little bit. Legion trying to take some tier 3 tower damage right here, and they're going to lose the mid tier 2. Here comes the Prisoner as well. That's just a Silhouette illusion, of course, but it's still going to do a lot of tower damage. They need to stop that at some point. That's going to be Cthulhu, though, that they jump on top of. Prisoner ultimate is there. Dream of Madness goes through. We can see a Dragonfire stun and a Phoenix Wave, presumably, at some point. Blazing Strike was already used. Cthulhu just so damn tanky, pretty much doing whatever he wants. Is the Swiftblade ultimate there? It's not. Tries to get there to stop the TP with mini stun, but can't quite get in before his Elephant ports away. So the Legion side stopped the Hellborn aggression by counter pushing in the top lane. Meanwhile, bottom lane, the Rose of Kraken will hit on the Glacius, and don't think you're getting out of here. Stand March, a couple more attack will finish him off. There's the charge too, for good measure, and Solo Volca picks up a free kill. Gonna get aggressed on a little bit here by Cannondorf and Bubbles, but they don't have the capacity to catch this Kraken. Shell Surf. Kelpfield? Well, alright, they've got him. Now, what are you going to do with him? Kraken pops the shrunken head, and Magnus is like, actually, I'm taking a lot of damage from that. I need to get out of here. And we'll see if Kendorf can survive. He's going to pop all sorts of illusions right here, doing a ton of damage, but the Pyromancer will be able to finish off the vast majority of them. The only one that's available is his ultimate. So, good counter from the Hellborn team. Does force out a shrunken head cooldown from the Kraken, but they also lose the Bubbles Kelpfield and stuff. Sorry, I apparently have IMs turned on. It's quite annoying. Top lane, they will stop the push right there. So, Swiftblade now pretty substantially ahead of this Silhouette in terms of GPM, as he has recovered extremely well, and Silhouette has not really been able to take off in the way that you would expect her to. She didn't build a Thunderclaw or anything like that, but even just with a Nullstone, you'd expect 550 plus GPM at this point, considering how well she started and how well her mid-game went. And really her inability to lock this opposing team down and actually get any kills. It's Salacious, dead again. And Stanmarch continues to get caught out. It's happened a couple of times recently, so I'm not really sure what his plan is. He's pretty damn deep. Trying to ward, I guess. And they will drop a ward of sight in the middle lane, so at least they got that down. But giving away kills for it, not the greatest. They also could be well aware that there's a ward there now. Meanwhile, Pyromancer has picked up a push book, so it's 2 on the Hellwarden team. Legion side have 2 of their own, obviously very good against both Kraken and Prisoner. Bulwark finished on Kraken, speaking of him. And he's going into Demonic Breastplate. Portal Key is finally purchased on the Scatulifant, so thank you, sir. Took you long enough, but eventually Noob McNoob does get the PK. It's going to result in much easier initiations and follow-ups for this Legion team. Swiftblade finishing up the Genjuro, in fact, so I really don't like that. I don't know why you double down on something like that when you could go for a Wingbow and mitigate a lot of damage, deal a lot more damage, etc. Seems like it'd be pretty valuable, but hey, I don't know. Looks like Prisoner will be going for the Hellflower. No huge surprise right there. Mentioned as a possibility earlier, and it definitely fits that hero and this game. And once again, Stanmarch, you're dead. I feel bad for him. There's really not too much he can do. Like, eventually he's going to get caught out. On the other hand, you know, the Hellborn team haven't had their supports get caught out too much like that. That's like the 3rd time in a row it's happened to Stanmarch. So, whatever you're doing there, Stanmarch, you need to maybe change it up a little bit because you keep getting caught and killed and you're basically just giving away free kills to the Hellborn team. Speaking of that, there's going to be initiation in the middle lane. Army of Mobs trying to survive, not going to be able to, as the Blazing Strike does a ton of damage. Cthulhuphant is so tanky and they're going on him. It's not a great idea. At least the Kraken does hit on top of Kendorf, but he gets out with the tree grapple. They manage to get 2 in the background as both the Pyromancer and what's it called, Prisoner are killed. Meanwhile, Kendorf ports out to his Illusion, and Bubbles is going to be able to get out with the Shell Serve PK combos with the take cover as well. And ends up being a 2 for 2, with the Legion side coming out ahead, I would say. Maybe not. That's a support for a support, an initiator, and an initiator. So, not that big a deal, I guess. We're approaching 40 minutes in right here, 24 to 24 in hero kills, and in fact don't care for the slight lead, which is pretty impressive considering how far down they were about 20 minutes ago. And if you weren't here for that, the answer is they were really far down. Top lane, Cannondorf and Noob McNoob playing with this Kraken a little bit, but Kraken's quite tanky with his new Demonic Breastplate. He still has the Shrunken Head available as well, and Cthulhuphant trying to get out of here. Got a Portal Key available in a couple of seconds, but he's going to get locked down and killed. No chance of getting out of that one. And Silhouette, meanwhile, will just TP on out. Be just fine. So, Legion team continuing to try to pressure this tier 3 tower at the top lane, which is good. But might need a Kongor kill before they can really break base, because they need a way to keep Silhouette alive in these fights. And I think the only way to realistically do that is get her a token. Because, I mean, the Hellborn do have some fairly good lockdown and control for a Sil. So, shouldn't be that hard to kill her. A lot of single target spells to dispel the Nullstone and eventually bring her down. She will continue to farm this bottom lane. Yeah, there goes the Nullstone, but yeah, Candorf's going to port right out. No problem. And they kill the Illusion for good measure, but Silhouette, man, that's what he does. What she does. Whatever. Swiftblade pushing out the top lane, 515 GPM on him, and he's continuing to expand his farm while Candorf has managed to get back to 500 or so, but not doing all that well. I really, really, really would like to see a Wingbow on the Swiftblade. It's going to jump on top of Bubbles right here. Already Shell Surf been used. He's going to run away with Push Book. That's not going to happen. And the Genjuro runaway from Swifty means that he's going to be just fine. Magma's actually going to dust out right here, and Swifty going to be in some trouble. Eruption goes through. Swift Slashes are there. That's going to prevent a lot of the damage. It's actually Army of Mums dies. Swiftblade's just like, you want this? Come at it, bro. Hat trick for Swifty. Here comes the other 2 heroes on the Legion side. This is basically a 1v5 right here. The spin away, and he will be just fine. Oh, Zephrante taking the quad kill away. He's not going to also kill the Swiftblade because Noob McNoob is all of a sudden in a lot of trouble. Gonna get locked down and killed, no question. Trample goes through, Portal Key in a couple of seconds, but they're doing enough damage to prevent him from doing anything. Dream of Madness is there, Empath Wall, not gonna find it. Actually, New McNoob survives. So, Swiftblade, what a hero. I mean, it was literally a 1v4, essentially, and he killed all of them. And yeah, I mean, the Genjuro has helped him. I think if he can do that with a Genjuro, he's unkillable with a Wingbow. Because he just got dusted out with the Genjuro. And it just didn't do all that much in that fight. Wingbow, I think, would have been much more effective. Anyway, it's been a tier 3 tower in the top lane, and we see the other lanes getting pushed in as well, so both, that's Illusion's in the middle anyway, but bottom lane is Pyromancer, who took out a tier 2 tower and put some pressure on the tier 3, so Hellborn cleaning up some towers on the Legion side, building themselves a pretty substantial golden experience advantage all of a sudden. 11.5k gold, 11k experience in front. And you look at the way they played this, there he is, there's the Wingbow, thank you Swifty. You look at the way they played this, and it's been really good. I mean, they've responded appropriately. They've been able to get the jumps of the Portal Key on Kraken and Prisoner, and it just all comes down to the initiation. The Legion side were getting it early on in the game, and the Hellborn team have been getting it recently, and as a result, it's mostly been the Hellborn getting the kills and coming out in these team fights. As it's difficult to figure out where this went wrong exactly for the Legion side, but I think it's just a matter of getting a little bit too aggressive with their ganks and not bringing the appropriate number of heroes to a fight, getting caught out a couple of times, and then letting the other team snowball right back. By the way, double damage unit on Swiftblade means Kongor's dead, so it's going to be a token of life on Link.
Target eliminated.
And to be honest, I mean, that could be close to game. Stanmark's courier actually dies. Interesting. That was a scouting courier, by the way, not the regular one, as they will kill the illusion from Solaire right here. Bubbles, by the way, picking up a sheep stick. Push book was the choice on Magmus, not a sheep for him. I mentioned that before, but he's got their 1,400 gold saved up, so I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for some sort of CC tool. I think they need more of it at this point. And Silhouette, going for the Geometer's Bane right now, has gotten the Firebrand. I like that choice. It's going to be able to get her, I think that'll get her out of the shackle, and it'll stop a lot of other stuff from the Hellborn team. Obviously, it'll, gives the negative armor, it'll stop the Prisoner ultimate, I believe, and all very useful. Of course, Hellflower, going to stop her from doing any of that, so we'll see who wins in that fight. Empath picking up a Storm Spirit. I really like that, in fact, because a lot of the Legion side's damage can potentially come out quickly. So if you can Storm Spirit a bunch of it, that can be really valuable. So there's the Portal Key jump in the middle lane, and that's going to be a pretty easy kill on the Solo Volk on the Kraken. So that's why I wanted a PK and Cthulhu to follow up the Magmus initiation like that, because that can result in some pretty good jumps and some pretty easy kills. And looks like it's going to be both teams thinking we can outpush the other one. And Candor from bottom lane going to kill Zudonix. I completely whiff on all of that. Let's go back and watch, because why not? Nice avoid on the stun, and then it's a pretty easy kill. Good taunt as well. So top racks probably should go down in favor of the Legion side. They're going to get those, and then they're going to go back and defend. And we'll see if the Legion team can actually get anything out of this. There are 2 heroes dead for the Hellborn. Post haste picked up by Swifty, who's actually having to use those support back because his items were full. Hellstone gets popped right there on the Silhouette, but they're going to counter on a Prisoner, and he should die. They do kill Candor, though, and that's a huge amount of their damage. Actually, Zafrante going to walk out of there, no problem, as Swiftblade is just wrecking everybody in this fight. And finally, the Sheep Stick goes through onto Swiftblade. Noob will be able to jump away. He wastes his port, though, gets the PK. Swiftblade doesn't really want to run after that, and eventually just decides, I'd rather defend, so Hellborn getting free racks in the top lane despite losing 2 heroes and then coming back and successfully defending. Cannondorf does use a buyback, so the Hellborn won't be able to get too much more out of this, and the Token of Life is still available on Swiftblade, so got another 2.5 minutes or so left on that. Wouldn't be surprised if they take this opportunity to push middle lane down, figuring that Cannondorf just used a buyback, probably doesn't have another one, and in fact he does not. So if they can lock him down and kill him again, that could very well be game, because at this point, once Shrunken Heads go up, Cannondorf is the only one that's doing damage, realistically. And yeah, Link does not want to be in this game anymore. He wants to finish it, so he's going to motor down mid. And boy, does he do a lot of damage. As Noob dies in the bottom lane, I completely whiffed on that because who cares? But actually, it's a Pyromancer that catches him. That's pretty funny. Interesting. Pyromancer killing a Tulipant. Or a support Pyro killing a Tulipant, even. That's not something you'd see every day. Post haste coming in from Pyro, speaking of him. So apparently going for post haste over Pork, you're not sure why. Kraken going to get caught out here by the freeze, but pops the shrunken head, and that's the second state of Rax.
Legion barracks are liquidated.
GG's probably should be coming out here. I don't know. Short cannon's no connecting. It's kind of funny. So, at least the Legion counter the top racks, so that's good. We've got top racks are even, mid racks are now in favor of the Hellborn team. And they still haven't lost the token on Swiftblade, it's got a minute and a half left. And that potentially means they could take another push right here and maybe go for Megas. Because if they continue trading racks, then they're going to come out ahead, because eventually they're going to get Mega Creeps and the Legion team won't. And don't care, in a really good position. Now, if you're Solaire Club, they're running as 5, and they sort of need to. They need a couple of picks. Most notably, they need to kill this Swiftblade. The problem is, he's basically item capped. He's got another spot once the token dies, and he can put something in there. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's something heavily offensive, like a Rift Shards. Maybe even a Savage Mace. I don't know, could be any number of things. And speaking of Swiftblade, he's invisible right there. Gets hit by the tree grapple. And he's going to find pretty much the entire Legion team. Here goes Kraken in the middle of it as well. Going to get locked down by the Sheepstick. We'll see if he can get out of this. Pops the Shrunken finally. Still is going to die. Release the Kraken. Does hit on a number of heroes. And there's a Swift Slash going everywhere. Swiftblade going to destroy everything. Cannondorf eventually does die. Meanwhile, in the background, Noob trying to chase down this Empath, but not going to be able to find that kill. And here comes Swiftblade. Says, guess what? You want to kill my friend? I'm going to kill you. Because you're a mean, mean man. And it's a bloodbath continued streak there for Swifty. He's going to use his post haste to get to the middle lane. Bubble's going to get locked down a little bit. Pops the Sheepstick on Swifty. Should be able to get away as he's got his PK back up. And Swiftblade's like, fine, you want to fight? Let's not fight. I'm going to go run to the bottom lane, kill this tower, and kill these racks because Cannondorf has no buyback. Cthulhu has no buyback. Army of Mums can be annoying but not really stop me. And I think this is going to be game. Pyromancer finishing up the top racks. And Swiftblade takes the tier 3 tower in the bottom lane. He's going to Genjuro and spin away, and then maybe realize that in fact he can get more kills. So slashes aren't available, but Magma's taking a lot of damage. And Empath is inside, by the way. Well, we got a Sheepstick right there, but the Storm Spirit from Empath, basically to prevent that item from doing anything. Genjuro gets popped once again as Glacius. Yeah, you're not going to survive too long, so there's a melee racks right there, and here go the ranged racks, and that's some Mega Creeps in favor of the Hellborn team and Legion. Immediately conceding the game as they lose it. So, Solaire Club, a bit of a throw, I would say. Game 1, going to don't care, and it probably shouldn't have. I mean, the Solaire Club had a fat lead, and then they took a couple of bad engagements, and it all went away. So, yeah, I guess that sort of thing happens, but feels like it shouldn't happen to that sort of team. Solaire Club's been around for long enough to not let that sort of thing happen when they have the kind of advantage they do. I mean, very rarely would you see a top-tier team against anybody throw away a 15k gold lead at 25 minutes. It doesn't happen. So, oh well, they did. I pretty much said everything I'm going to about that game, so let's move it on to game 2, as Don't Care takes it 1-0. We'll be right back in a second with the second game in this series.